10-minute daily reality check here, and we're going to talk about failure. Oh, man, all of you perfect people running around out there, you're just so beautiful, I got to tell you. You're just so perfect in every way. All of you people that are constantly having the pursuit of perfection, isn't life just great as you rip yourself apart on a daily basis? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most imperfect person of them all? Not me. Wait a second, I need to be perfect. As you get into your underwear and you rip yourself apart, you check out your belly and you think to yourself, oh no, man, this doesn't look great. As you go through your day, you don't talk to somebody because you're looking for the perfect situation that never ever existed ever. As you go out on a date, you're reviewing stupid articles on the internet, 7 ways to be a great date, so you can make sure your date is perfect that night. You perfectly fucked up individual. I got to tell you, perfect is the most bullshit thing in the entire world, Greg. And I want to play something. And hopefully in our mock studio, we can hear it. And it's something that Nick Foles, if you have not known who Nick Foles is the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, who just basically won a Super Bowl. Nick Foles, I talked about on the podcast the other day, has been kicked around the NFL. The only problem was he was kicked around because he went to Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher is the worst coach you've ever coached for 17 years. How, Greg, did Jeff Fisher coach for 17 fucking years?
Jeff Fisher won a Super Bowl.
No, he didn't win that Super Bowl with the Titans. They lost it on the 1-yard line.
Oh, that's right. The guy reached out and he was that close.
Mm-hmm.
So
they lost it to the Rams. Okay, so Nick Foles, it's a YouTube video. If you want to watch the video, I think it's great, but I'm going to play it for you too. Nick Foles offers inspiring words of advice on failure. Okay, I love how it queued up and it didn't work. So let's go do it one more.
Journey here. What would you like people to kind of take from your journey the last few years and kind of be inspired by?
I think the big thing is don't be afraid to fail. In our society today, Instagram, Twitter, it's a highlight reel. It's all the good things. And then when you look at it, you think like, wow, when you have a rough day, your life's not as good as that. Like, you're failing. Failure is part of life. That's a part of building character and growing. Like without failure, who would you be? I wouldn't be up here if I hadn't fallen thousands of times, made mistakes. We all are human. We all have weaknesses. And I think throughout this, just being able to share that and be transparent. I know when I listen to people speak and they share their weaknesses, I'm listening because I can resonate. So I'm not perfect. I'm not Superman. We might be in the NFL and we might have just won the Super Bowl, but hey, we still have daily struggles. I still have daily struggles. So, but that's where my faith comes in. That's where my family comes in. And, I think when you look at a struggle in your life, just know that, that's just an opportunity for your character to grow. And that's really just been the message. It's simple. Like, if something's going on in your life and you're struggling, embrace it because you're growing. I'm not really worried about my future right now. I'm grateful to be a part of the Philadelphia Eagles. I said when I signed with the Eagles, I'm grateful and content in this moment. I'm staying in the moment. I'm not worried about my future right now. There'll be a time and a place to handle all that. But I take a lot of pride in wearing the Philadelphia Eagles jersey. And I just enjoy being here. It's such a great team. I'm excited for Carson Wentz coming back healthy. I get to work with him every day. Dude's a stud. And, I'm just living in the moment, not thinking ahead.
I mean, I'm just grateful for the moment. I'm just grateful and living in the moment. I'm content. Carson Wentz, who's the starting quarterback for the Eagles, didn't get to play in the Super Bowl. But if you noticed at the Super Bowl celebration, he was on the stage with Nick Foles. I'm grateful for the guy. The guy's a stud. I support him. I support my role on this team. I mean, I fail. I have failed. I mean, this is just unreal. And I love what he said about the Instagram and Facebook. Mm-hmm. It's just a fucking highlight reel that we react to. We react to the highlight reel that other people post. Oh my God, I can't believe Mary Jane put a picture of herself up in a bikini. She looks so much better than I do. Oh my God, Jim and Jane have such a better family. Look at their family pictures on their family vacation. Meanwhile, Jim and Jane have brawls in the fucking hotel room because their relationship sucks ass. So Nick Foles, man, what a fucking humble guy.
He is. And I think it's long overdue. I think a lot of people need to recognize that being humble and keeping life simple can pay huge dividends, right? Because he was able to keep his mind clear for this whole game and play like he's never played before. We all saw what happened, but some of the throws he made were just dumbfounding to me. But his confidence level was through the roof, and maybe it wasn't confidence. Maybe it was literally, I'm here, I'm thankful, I'm grateful, and I'm just going to play the best of my ability and see what happens, and not care about the outcome. I think that's a big thing that a lot of people, what we're talking about here is everybody cares about the outcome, right? They want to make sure that their picture is perfect, make sure that their post is just right. We've got to post it at the right time. Everything's going to look fantastic on the outside so I can be liked and everybody will accept me. But the reality is, most people are really miserable on the inside. And I think Nick is really showing some people that what's most important is just living day to day, being thankful for the simple things, and realizing that through any struggle, through any adversity, you have a chance to grow and overcome. And that's what a lot of people I don't think are doing anymore. I think they're spending a lot of time wasting their time not facing the ugly truths of how they look or who their friends are or where they live, and accepting it for what it is and just being happy to have that.
You know, I love that. He hit it right on the button, man, with just acceptance. You know, isn't life just a daily practice of accepting Lucky for barking when we do a podcast? Every time. Accepting who we are, accepting where we're at, and truly loving ourselves. I mean, this was such a humble man. I mean, what is it and why are we always looking? You said it really well. I need to post this on Facebook. It's the perfect time to post it on Facebook. It's the validation we're constantly seeking. We're so hard on ourselves all the time, comparing ourselves to so many other people. I mean, you know that, my whole story. I mean, I have worked out my entire life. You've worked out your entire life, right? Even, when you've worked out your whole life, you still have stories of, God, not as good as I should be, right?
Sure.
I've got scoliosis in my mid back, which, and that was like a self-defeating story for so many years. I hated it. I'd go to the beach and think to myself, man, I'm not perfect. Is anybody going to notice it? Anybody going to know? Who the fuck is anybody? Right. I give my power away to all the people who are sitting on their fucking chairs. I remember I would try a shirt on sometimes. If it was too tight, I'd look around and make sure no one can notice the curve in my back, because I don't want anybody to notice that. Right. Because if they notice that, for some reason or another, I wasn't perfect, and I remember if I had one wish, I would think to myself, I want my spine to be straight, not I wish I had more wishes, endless wishes, right? And it's funny. It's like we spend so much time with the constant pursuit of perfection. Even just talking about this right now, my legs are moving and shaking because I'm like, oh my God, this is just such an admittance. It's like I'm admitting my imperfection. I mean, I'm not going to post a picture, but then again, why not post a picture? It's like, right, you post a picture of it and go, hey, holy shit, my life is great and I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. We all have physical flaws, emotional flaws, and mental flaws. And I think the great thing about what Nick Foles is really saying is that you just embrace it. You fail. You're not afraid of failure. You just keep falling forward. And I think that message was so great. And you're right, he had no fear. I mean, Darth Vader was fucking coaching, with his cutoff sweatshirt on the other side. And Darth Vader, he put Malcolm Butler on the sidelines, and Darth Vader didn't think he would lose. And, he was going against, Luke Skywalker, fucking Tom Brady. I mean?
Well, yeah, but even the coach from Philadelphia had no fear. I mean,
none.
It's the same thing. It's like, if you're gonna try to tackle something, if you're gonna try to take on some massive task or adversity or opponent, why are you holding back? And people, when they edit their pictures, when they're timing their Facebook posts, when they're trying to make sure that they're presenting themselves in a certain light. They're holding themselves back because they're trying to prevent themselves from failing. They don't want to be seen as a failure, whatever that could be. It could be a zit on your face, man. It could be something that minimal. People are intimidated, and I think the lesson here is that we just saw, it's sports, but we love sports. You know that.
Yeah.
We love the competition of it. But we just saw two guys go out there and a whole team that's been the underdog through the whole playoffs and just let it rip and not care because they could have got destroyed. Well, how would the outcome have been if they had missed that trick play in the touchdown at the end, if they got stuffed in every fourth down, and then the Patriots came back and just blew them out? What would have happened then? They would have been ridiculed, right? Oh, they did this wrong. They did this wrong. We lost again. Blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, you got to just get out there, man. Got to let your balls swing in the wind, as they say.
And yeah, even if they're sweaty in New York City in the summertime, you got to let those stanky balls fucking just stank up the whole air, man. Swamp balls are fine too. But isn't it interesting if you look at like sports and they're under the microscope, and they've got Chris Collingsworth and Al Michaels fucking criticizing every play. They've got every ESPN. They've got Deion Sanders afterwards. They got Steve Young talking about it. And yet people feel like they're under this microscope all the time. Like, I'm not going to go and talk to somebody because they're going to be watching. Who? The cashier at fucking Whole Foods is watching. They give a fuck about you. They got their own fucking perfection stories and insecurities. And they got their own issues that they're dealing with on a daily basis. And I think it's interesting, when we have this opportunity to grow, I think growth scares the shit out of people. They'd rather stay with that story, the failure story, right? Yep. That failure story, like, oh man, I'm not good enough.
It's safe. That's the safe story, man. It's a safe story. They don't want to have the real story. They want to have the safe story.
No, they don't want to create the fucking story. Nick Foles created that story. He created that. Doug Peterson created the story of the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles. He created. Bill Belichick has created the story for the last 17 years. Brady has created his story. The New York Jets have created their story. You get drafted by the Jets. You think to yourself, oh, fuck, I'm with the Jets. Nobody wants to go to the Browns. Sam Darnold probably will be the number one pick. He doesn't really want to go to the Browns because he doesn't want to go to that organization that created that story. A story is that powerful. It's an organization that creates the story as well. It's not just human beings. It's a collective consciousness of people that create that story nonstop. And I think that's what happens. So our individual minds are very big. We may have a body issue, a mental issue, a relationship issue, and we create this fucking story. But in reality, the story was created by dear old mom and dad, and we have really not taken the time to create our own story. Yet we know we should, but we still give in to the old fucking story because the old story feels so good. It feels so good to like rip yourself apart. For some reason or another, we feel good at poking fun at ourselves, meaning on a much deeper level instead of embracing ourselves. And I think what Nick Foles is talking about is I don't know, he won't say wake the fuck up, right? But, wake the fuck up and see who you are because we're only getting older. And that's the one thing youth is always wasted on the youth. You ask any 80-year-old person and they'll say, God, I wish I was kinder to myself. That's always the biggest message. I wish I was kinder to myself. So think about where you're at in your life today and think about your unkindness story and determine what you're going to do about it.
Yeah, and that's just what we were talking about before we got on this podcast. Stop living in the past. Stop living in your old story. Start creating a new story and understand that you're going to fail. You're going to succeed. And sometimes you're just going to be just stagnant. And that's okay. Learning from the failures, though, is really, really important.
Well, here's the way that people are going to learn, Greg. I'm bringing the Live With Us program back for men. Yeah. It's like I'm going to start because I'm realizing, I realize I've been coaching a lot, but I realize the importance of coaching is unreal. So imagine you're Nick Foles and imagine you're Carson Wentz and imagine you're just a guy that wants to take your life to the next level and you get to have the opportunity to live with Doug Peterson or Bill Belichick. That's Greg and I. We're bringing the Live at Home program back. So if you're interested in that, go to davidwygant.com and send us an email because we're not going to have anybody into our space. You can't just do it. I don't care if you got all the money in the world. If I don't think you're motivated enough and I don't think you're aligned with our belief system, then I'm not going to have you in the program. It's certainly going to have to be somebody who really feels aligned with what we're doing. I mean, it's no different than a sports team. I'm not going to draft you because you've got the pedigree. I'm going to draft you because you have the heart. So if you're interested in that, go to davidwygant.com and send me an email. For the rest of you, from Greg and I and Nick Foles, who's in the studio via iPhone, I kind of want to pretend that because it kind of feels good, right? Spread the podcast around. Let everybody hear Nick's message. Maybe it will inspire you today on this beautiful Wednesday in February. Isn't today one last time? Or is that yesterday? Didn't that little hairy little rodent, did he see it? Is it today or tomorrow? Or is that that was yesterday, I think, right? Puxatawny Phil?
Puxatawny Phil, that's right. I don't know. I don't know if he saw it or not.
Maybe he saw the stock market crash and didn't want to come and show himself. No, the stock market went down to 1175 points. I can't show myself. Winter is bleak this year. Anyway, we'll see you on the podcast.